Which are a psychedelic garage rock band from Kitwe, Zambia. Widely considered to be the pioneers of the Zamrock genre, Which have just released Sogolo, their second album after a 40-year hiatus. I sat down with Jaggari and Patrick ahead of their headline show in Sydney to chat their sonic evolution, the origins of Zamrock, and more. Can you introduce yourselves as a band?
My name's Emmanuel Jaggari Chanda. I'm the frontman for the Which.
I'm Patrick Mandela. I'm the keyboard player for Which.
Can you tell me about the acronym for the band?
It was a shortcut for We Intend to Cause Havoc. But now, after growing out of havoc, we intend to cause harmony or happiness, whatever leads to peace and goodness. At first, it was the actual havoc because there were some hidden competitions within bands, within society and things like that, musically that is. And because of the effort we had put in making that music, we thought we shouldn't be left out. We should cause havoc and stay on top of things.
Havoc for the fun and the experience people had coming to the shows and our lives as well.
Yeah.
So this time around, I think is trying to reconcile all that and bring harmony and, bring healing to the chaos and this.
Because music is more of a spiritual thing, that whether you want to take it lightly, it does a lot. That's why we have so many themes to sing about, because it's part of our lives. You can't do away with music in life. Otherwise, life will be too serious.
Tell me a little bit more about the healing power of music. Is that something that you as a band try and create through your work? Or do you think it's a more universal thing?
Well, music does a lot it brings about imageries, it stirs up emotions, and there's some teaching, some entertainment element in a serious composition. When you're composing it, or when you listen to the music composed by somebody, it takes you back to when you first heard that song. What were you doing? Where were you? Were you happy? Were you sad? Sometimes you have music that is just in the background. You could do the work. It's a gift that we've been given to play with our soul. It's not just the way we think of it. For instance, there are people who get into music for money and fame. Probably we could be guilty of that in the initial stages. Because, it's when you are young and you listen to famous musicians and you listen to good music by some people, you want to be like them. And the intention is not really to evoke or to sort of ask people to join in what you're feeling and the message that you're trying to portray. It's a very powerful tool, emotionally and spiritually.
Being able to actually present music to our fans, I think we have that advantage of doing music at this later stage in our lives that we've had experienced life, and life is full of emotion. I think one emotion that is used worldwide a lot is love, people falling in love. There are loads of songs, but there are other emotions that people go through: depression, emptiness. Certainly when I talk to fans, like after the show, you pick up these things. They're looking for something. They're looking for purpose. So I think music would be a very strong, powerful tool that can be used perhaps to help people think through the emotions that they go through and maybe give them hope.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, with life being so hard, you hear people committing suicide because they're just empty and they feel there's no way out. But music would be a powerful tool that can actually speak into those situations and bring hope. I'm very aware of that. So my writing, actually, I tend to go in a way of writing songs that have an emotion and have a connection with real life. So I think that's the advantage we have at this stage in our lives, that we can draw from our lives an experience that will help other people.
Just to add on, through the experience, the simplest theme that any musician can rely on is falling in and out of love. But in our society, where we come from, Zambia, we don't classify the music the way you guys do, jazz, blues. We classify our music according to the purpose, the purpose that music serves. For instance, we have music for the newly born baby all through their life stages. When putting them to sleep, children's games, work songs, initiation songs, wedding songs, political songs, and so many, until someone dies. When we sing the dirges, that's the music for the dead. And even when someone is dead, this is more meaningful to us than to say this is blues.
You said where you're from in Zambia, they categorize music not by the genre, but for its purpose.
Purpose, yes.
What is Witch's purpose?
The Witch it's the music we played was later known as Zamrock, meaning the Zambian kind of rock, because the influences came from America and Europe. And we had limited sources of that information, the scales and things like that. We learned music by ear. We didn't have facilities of going to college and things. That came much, much later, and very limited spaces for that. But we have the cultural aspect, which is the trends in music. The African strength is the rhythmic patterns that crisscross to give one resultant rhythm, which provokes physical reaction in the first place. People want to dance to that because it's calling the drums and things. They are calling for someone to participate physically. And then we unconsciously we hang on to a scale which is known as pentatonic scale. And then we have another characteristic of repetition. Repetition is not that we don't have words to use and we keep repeating. We are trying to emphasize the importance of that word, probably, to evoke the emotions of somebody. This is what we borrow from our culture, and then we also infuse the primary chords that's in rock, whether it's in America or here in Europe. And then we also bring in our 6/8 time signature, which well, it can be interpreted as 2/4, 2 crochets beba, or if you like. But we use triplets of rhythmic patterns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the emphasis is on 1 and on 4. So that flow, when you add it to the Western world of rock, pop music, it makes the difference. So it's a combination of a few things, and we come up with this. We didn't even know we were playing Zamrock.
Yeah.
Someone else.
Well, you sort of invented it.
Yes, unconsciously. Because we tried to give it Zambiano, we tried to give it, like, some music, most of music terms are from Italian, Latin, and things like that. So we were thinking maybe, and the influence of church, the Catholic Church, so probably at points we called it Zambiano music, until a friend of ours who was a physician, but he played part-time as a DJ on a national radio. And he kept asking, you guys, what kind of music do you play? And we went through all sorts of, and he said, but it sounds like some rock, Zamrock is the one who coined that. He's late though. Well, his name was Manasseh Piri.
Are there some Zamrock albums that you would recommend?
The Witch. Well, The Witch worked hard.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to boast, I'm trying to emphasize a point. They really worked hard. There were a lot of good bands that time in the early 70s to about towards the end of 70s, part of 80s, beginning of 80s. But they didn't have the opportunity. They were not as lucky as we were. They didn't have time to record, and they didn't have probably a manager who would support their. I presume it's to do with our destiny.
Okay.
We were predestined to do what we are doing.
Actually, there's one album that I really love. It's Lukombo Vibes.
It's still Witch.
It's still Witch. And I think the reason why it's actually it's en route to where, because the band also had another era with the disco music in the 80s. But I find Lukombo Vibe actually technically had a lot going on there.
Lukombo Vibes changed the direction of our approach to music because we were invited to open for a band called Osibisa. Osibisa,
fantastic band.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when they visited, they toured Zambia, the Witch were asked to open for them. We shared the green room and their style of presenting their works. So we learned a few things. We shared a few things with them, which were, they call it Afrobeat, but it was still, it had some strong roots in the African musicality, if you like. Yeah.
Sogolo, the new album. It's a real evolution of the Zamrock sound. There's funk, fuzz, psych rock, all of the stuff that we know to be a part of the genre, and a real blend of textures. What inspired you to take this new direction on this record?
So we're trying to write in the times with the influences that are around. And then right now we have many genres we can now people pull from. But that's what the Witch has done over the years. So we just write for the moment, pulling everything else that we have in our toolbox.
I first saw you guys play when you were last in Australia at the Sydney Opera House in the Hudson Room, touring Zango, another fantastic album. Your first one in 40-something years.
Oh,
Yeah. What has the response been like to taking Sogolo into a live setting on this tour?
Yeah, it's been quite overwhelming, actually. There's not a single show that I would say we felt a bit down, but it's been absolutely amazing. And the responses have been very, very, very positive. People coming with heartfelt comments. You could just tell this is coming from a genuine heart of people appreciating. Response has been fantastic.
We also plan, it's deliberate, that we should share the energy, the positive energy of the audiences and ourselves, because they pay to come and be happy. That's why and then after the gig, probably we go to the merch table, we sign, we autograph the merch, and we take pictures with them. We share that positivity, and the intention of the music is to make people happy, and they should feel this peace. They're being entertained, but they have this peace, and there's this warmth between the band and the audience.
I want to talk about your own music tastes. In the early days of the band, what were some albums that you really wanted to incorporate into the Witch sound?
For me, it was twofold. There was music that I just wanted to listen to, but there was also music that the band wanted to play. So those were two things. We agreed we can play this as a band. But in our own private times, I listened to Sir Cliff Richard, the Hollies. I listened to a lot of nice bands that are harmonies and some messages. I also listened to Badfinger, even though they came slightly later. Particularly a song that they impressed me with was No Perfection, because that speaks to me directly. There's no real perfection. We have the same blood groups. We feel the same despite the colors that we have that are different. It's the creator's decision, and that he should have different colors in the rainbow and in human beings. But we misunderstand his intention, and we feel the color can be superior than this other color. But at the end of it all, we all feel hungry. We all feel tired. We want to be loved. We want to love. We are human beings. We are spirits. That's why we get emotional at times and things like that. We are human beings, but in some circles, very selfish human beings, which shouldn't be.
How about for you, Patrick? What were some of the early albums for you?
The early albums, I'll give you a bit of a background. I actually was invited to which almost the tail end of the Zamrock revolution, going into the 80s, and the disco thing is happening at that point. So I had quite an interesting background as I was listening to a lot of what they called underground music. So bands like Deep Purple, Eric Clapton and all those guys. And then the whole Motown stuff, Jackson 5, Diana Ross, all those artists. Those are the influences that have come into the music. And then I think what was brought to Zango after 40 years, because we didn't manage to record some of the songs I had with my previous band before coming to Witch. Waile is one song that brought to Witch, but that was actually written during the Zamrock time.
So nearly 50 years later, it gets a release.
Yeah, so I think it was timely because I think with that move transition in the 80s, I think they needed a different scale influence to come in and support that. And I think it worked well. So like I said, it's a legacy of the band. As we've done with Sogolo, people have come here, we've moved on, we've used it. And we'll continue to do that. I believe there's more to come. For us to express fully.
Yeah. We can do it.
Fingers crossed, eh?
Yeah, and it's a great opportunity. We've got the audience, we've got fans, and I think, yes, we've got more to offer.
It's important to mention this part. As a band, when we rehearsed, we split our rehearsals into two parts. In the morning, our minds were fresh, because normally we walked 8 kilometers from where we lived to the place where we rehearsed, our manager's grocery shop. He gave us a room on top of his shop for rehearsals. So we walked to there, and we planned it that in the morning from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock, we were listening and learning songs like Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Grand Funk Railroad, all those rock bands. Free, that's Paul Rogers and his team, Thin Liz, and things, that kind of music.
Yeah.
That's what we learned in the morning. We had the 1 hour break after 1 o'clock. At 2 o'clock to 4:30, we were experimenting with our own stuff, composition and things like that. Then we gave ourselves a rule, that no girlfriend in the rehearsal room. Simply because this is where we should be free to talk about whether you're singing wrongly, you're playing wrong notes or chords and things like that. So if you have your girlfriend over there and you are rehearsing, someone says, those are not the right notes you're playing, your mind is split. So she thinks I'm the weakest point here and things like that. We try to avoid such. That is the reason. It worked better that way.
No distractions.
Yeah, because lawyers don't take their girlfriends to the office. Neither do doctors and others. So if you want to do a serious professional musicianship, learn something from there.
Jaggari,
Yeah, my man.
my man, Patrick, thank you.